off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Thanks for joining us on this is episode 8 of
Eight.
Succession. Episode 8 of
Eight.
Succession. Yes.
Eight.
Um uh, um yeah, episode 8. Like as I say that out loud, it's becoming real. Yeah, which
Getting
means we
real,
have
man.
2 left. Yeah, this is episode 8. Yeah,
Coming around the
it's
bend.
it's America something, but either way, America has no say in these matters because we are here to so the previous episode, which by the way wasn't recorded, but we won't talk about that. But in the previous episode, they had the tailgate party on election eve, but this episode was actually like election day, and as you could imagine, a fiery channel like ATN, they they really have a lot to do on election day. But before we get into that, D, how's it going? And also just talk about general impressions.
Good. Everything's going fine. Thanks for asking. It's America Decides. That's the name of the episode. Um,
America decides, yes.
I I was blown away. Like it's there was once this tweet somebody was like, man, people talk about succession. They be like, man, this shit crazy, and people just standing there staring at each other. But it's legit crazy. Like I don't think I've ever watched a show that didn't have violence, I guess I should say, or action that still had me fully like enthralled or the thought of violence because it gives me, I guess, the same feeling, but it shouldn't because it's honestly just a whole bunch of people talking like all the time. But they've written it so well that it feels still like action or like a thriller or some I can't describe it. I can't, but yesterday was it because the way they kind of made you feel like this was actually a thing that was happening, like an actual election, they did a really, really good job. What a terrible family. That's all I gotta say. They are an awful
Yeah.
family. And that's really just as far as general impressions, that's what I took away from it. What an awful family as a whole.
I'm,
All of
I'm
them.
sure the same. Yeah, I was definitely reflecting on, past episodes when people are like, "Oh, I feel so bad for this character. I feel so bad for that." I feel bad for none of them because it shows like truly the like insidious nature of this family. Like they're truly terrible people, and destroying the country is of little consequence to any of these people.
That's the biggest part, right? It's Shiv surprised me honestly because they didn't write her to be the white woman who was raised by this type of person to like keep it going just by being indoctrinated in that type of behavior. That's the way it's supposed to be. This is the way it's supposed to go. She's totally different from that. And I'm honestly not sure why. Like, I don't know where in her life she saw that this wasn't the way. I'm not even sure Logan was as bad as Ken. I mean, as Rome is. It feels like he is, but I'm not sure. I don't know. But I did have a weird thought. I'm like, this could. It would be crazy if we. Of course, it's not. But this could totally be a prequel to how Roman became who he is. I mean, not Roman, I'm sorry. Logan became who he is. Like Rome could very much be a young Logan, and it's like this could be the whole prequel of how Logan became who he is. Because if the show went on, if this show showed us a young Logan and it came up, and then we see Logan as he is and lives his life as he, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it fits.
Yeah,
It fits.
because
He's
based on
his father's
like
son.
the one biography we got on Logan is that he, if I'm not mistaken, he grew up very poor. He immigrated from Scotland to America and worked his way up. And I think what that omits is that he had like probably undoubtedly a very terrible life. And I think, and this is just me like tossing this out, obviously Roman is the one that has the most problems. And the source of his problems is now dead. So what if he like puts all that in a box and just replaces it with what we're seeing now? And I think and I like you shouldn't be surprised by any of their actions, but like just seeing this unraveling, like you see that it kind of makes sense. Like it was there all along. Like, but that the only thing he feared, because the racism and the xenophobia has been there all along, but the thing is, the only thing he feared in the world is now gone, and now that's replaced with like I could do what the hell I want.
It's almost like it's exactly that. It's the one thing that kept him tethered to a somewhat real life was Logan. Like there was a part of him that knew if he did certain things there would be a consequence because of Logan. But now he has, I guess, essentially no one to answer to. So he's become, for lack of a better terms, a god within, if nothing else, within this organization. And if he gets the president, that's just it. Period. Because there will always be somebody he can blame. From what I can see, in his mind, there's always somebody I can blame. There's always somebody that can get me out of whatever I'm in, or I can try to dial it back. But I'm not even sure if he's even in a mindset where he'll dial anything back anymore. It's just done. And if he has the president, I keep air quotes, I know y'all can't see the president under his wing, he's thinking he can do anything. But I I don't think he's really thinking straight because he's not the president. I don't, because the way they were framing it, he was going to lose. Yes, that's what I got from it.
Like
I got Jimenez was going to
so
win
so
with the
adding
votes, of course,
context,
from
yeah,
Wisconsin.
yeah, adding context to this. So a site was blown up in Milwaukee, which is historically like a Democratic stronghold. So what ATN's basically analog for I think it's what's his name, like Chris, I can't remember his name, but the guy who pretends to be like somewhat moderate on Fox, who does
Know his
election
name.
coverage, but he was basically saying like, yeah, based on the facility that blew up, we could definitely call it based on historical trends. So and I want to take a step back too. So um just talk about democracy and how it's supposed to work. Like
Okay.
a news channel calling it really doesn't mean anything, but what it does is sow distrust in the electoral system, which is exactly what Roman wanted. Because yeah, they're saying like, I know Shiv's like, oh, there'll be a recount, there'll be a revote, there'll be a whatever. And their hopes is like, okay, let's take it to the courts because we'll win in the courts too. But still, there's a long path between, naming making president elect and him actually getting to the office. But they don't care about that in between because they actually, like, I think he briefly mentioned like, yeah, like I'm actually ready to get in the streets, and because it was like, my people will shoot yours. So they don't care. They don't care about the fine details, because in Roman's mind, in the end, he's gonna come out on top anyway.
You're saying what could happen if a reputable news station puts out false information and says things like stole the election or that type of thing? People could take that to heart, and then something weird could happen around January-ish. Some strange thing can
Yeah,
happen around that time.
yeah.
Wow, they should probably not
The
put that on TV. That would be weird if it happened in real life. Ooh, wonder what
I'm
we
just
do
gonna
about
say
it.
that
Probably nothing.
the timing of this is crazy, because if you haven't figured out yet, Mark Ravenhead is Tucker Carlson. Like, they don't show him a lot, but Mark Ravenhead is
Of
definitely
course
Tucker
he
Carlson.
is.
And yeah, like this is like a stealing the election plot line. And there's a brief clip in like the season 4 trailer where Roman is walking through the streets, and there looks like a protest or a riot going on. So just tossing that out there as well.
think if nothing else, and I'm going to give her super kudos, Sarah rocked the hell out of this episode because
Yeah.
there is this fear that she put into her character that she showed unto me that she was legitimately terrified of this person becoming the president. And it puts it into perspective because Roman's not afraid of anything, right? Like, I'm fine. I have money, I have means, I have whatever. I have the president in the palm of my hand. I don't care what happens to anybody else because I will be fine. Shiv does not have that same thought. Her thought is legitimately, this is not democracy. Like, this is not what we're supposed to be doing. Even dad wouldn't do this because he believed in the process. And like you say, it goes back. It's always been there. She didn't like him from day one. She didn't even want to be in a picture with him. And Roman did. And like I saw so many other things happening that it didn't even cross my mind to think that Roman was a racist, that Roman is xenophobic.
Oh
None of that.
yeah.
I mean, it just didn't, I didn't think about it because I always thought he's just an awful person. He's a billionaire, so he's already awful by, I mean, just history has shown us that people with that much money aren't generally good people. There may be a good billionaire out there somewhere. If you are, good for you. And I know you will never challenge me on that because you're a good person. But the majority of them aren't good. So I never thought the about things that made him bad. Him being a racist and, and xenophobic being two of them. But they're huge now because it's glaring. Like it's the forefront of everything he's doing at this point. He doesn't care about anything else other than this is my guy and we've got to get my guy in because at now he hates Lucas so much. Like at this point, that's what's driving him. It feels like to do everything because he hates Lucas. But if Mencken kills the deal, he can only do that as president. But he still have to go through the SEC and all of that stuff. But I mean, I know the president can do some things. I don't know, but
Yeah, he can. I mean, once he appoints like his chairs, I guess he'll do it. But my main thought is you need to ride with Jimenez because I mean a very liberal. I mean, and reminder like Jimenez's VP is fake Bernie Sanders. A very liberal president would want to kill your deal because of like antitrust laws. So
yeah.
when I the whole time I was watching this, I was like, y'all are definitely making the wrong play, and also like you kind of shouldn't ask anything of Jimenez and his camp. You should just say, "Hey, good luck tonight," but also like, "Hey, let's make sure this motherfucker wins."
Or and I think the biggest thing with me, there. I mean, he could always just say, "Well, no." I mean, I know I told you I was going to do it, but I'm not.
Yeah, which
Right?
is like because now like is in a situation where, and I know Roman thinks he wins, but he doesn't. Now it's a situation where it's like quid pro quo, with the president, because not to mention like he already put his manifesto on ATN earlier in the season, and they're like, who the hell did that? So now like he's gonna use ATN as his personal talk box if he does make it to office. So yeah, like, is that a situation you really want to be in, where you like answer to the president?
I guess too, and I'm confused. What power does Roman have? I get that he's now the face, or he gets all of the attention or whatever else from ATN, but this man is the president. He could honestly
Hmm.
go to whatever station he wanted to, or whatever blog or podcast. I mean, he could do what he wants outside of it being a monarchy. I know we have checks and balances. I know we have them, but realistically,
Allegedly.
in the real world, he does what he wants to do. We've seen it happen. And I just don't see what does Roman think he has? I know he almost thinks he has the president like in his pocket, but you don't because he's the president.
Yeah, when in
There's only
fact
so
it'll
much you
more than
can do.
likely be the other way around.
Yeah, you can only do what he allows still. So I don't understand why he was just so interested in having him, like, I guess as a pal, as a buddy, as a friend, whatever else, instead of, like you said, keeping that opportunity open for both. Because Jimenez could also, want to be on ATN or want to, and I'm not sure he I'm sure, well, I'm not sure about anybody. I don't think he would get the same shady deals or whatever else from Macon, of course. But I guess it just also works because Roman's ideals align with Lincoln's. I guess that's the part I'm
Yeah,
still trying my
yeah,
best to make him not a racist, although he is.
they are definitely homoerotic Nazis because I still think they had a weird vibe in the restroom too. But yeah, they are like definitely like Nazi buddies.
Well, and okay, so let's Tom is also a Nazi at this point.
So all
I
right,
don't
so
know what's
speaking of,
going on.
let me talk about this too, because speaking of good performances, Matthew McFadden. Um, so I want to take a step back and talk about his portrayal of Tom because someone asked him like way back, like one of the first seasons of Succession, like they just flat out asked him like, "Can you like not nail American accent?" And he was like, "No, Tom voice changes based on who he's talking to. Like when he's talking to Shiv, like it's like very mumbly. When he's talking to Logan, it's very high pitched. When he's talking to Greg, it's like more confident. But if you've noticed, like the way he portrays Tom now is like instead of like like slouching over, like he's like upright and he's like speaking with like more confidence and like just seeing like Tom like turn into this character, even though like I don't like the character. I like the
Mm-mm.
performance more than the character. Like like Matthew McFadden is doing a really good job as Tom right now because yeah, he he put his foot down and going back to the previous episode, like they had they said what they had to say about each other, but now he's saying like, yeah, like I'm the one who's actually in the company, and I'm gonna make sure I'm good. And what are you doing? So he like put his foot down and he was like, hey, let's roll with it.
He read her for filth. I want to say that we didn't get to talk about it because somebody was off doing fabulous things. Somebody, but he did. He read her for filth on that roof, and to not today, last yesterday's episode. It just like you said, he really was just he's just off her. Like he's really at the point where he's not believing anything she says because it feels like desperation, and he knows what it's like when she'll say whatever she needs to say to get him to do whatever he needs to do. And when she told him about the baby, my thought was, now she like this is this moment right here right now, whatever. But back to acting, his face changed, and I don't know if I was the only one to notice, but a very brief smile
Mhm.
came across his face, and then it
Mhm.
faded away just that quickly because it was like, whoa, wait a minute, are you telling the truth? Is this a lie? Is this another thing that's gonna, that you're just trying to pull, whatever else? She was very upset about it, but I thought, well, Shiv, I mean, I know you're pregnant. I know you're telling the
Historically,
truth. But yeah, historically, it doesn't make sense. I've been saying the baby doesn't make sense the whole time, and I know you're pregnant. So I could see why he's surprised. Um, I thought her timing was weird. I did like how Ken immediately stepped up for her when Tom kind of got wrong. Cause he
yeah,
immediately cut that and he was like, hey, no, no, don't
nah,
do that. Don't do that. Like you, whatever you got going on is fine, but don't do that. Not her. Not my shivy. But Rome didn't say anything, but I know why, because Rome is laser focused on doing what he wants to do. Um, her getting caught up in that lie, did she not well, I thought she would at
like
least call him and say, "Hey, Nate, this is a play they're gonna try to pull, blah blah blah." At least call him so he could
at
say,
least do
"Yeah,
that.
I talked to her," but not calling him at all, knowing that Ken could actually get in touch with him. That blew my mind. 'Cause I'm like, "What are you doing?
Yeah,
She's
that
not just
was
gonna take
that
your
was
word for it. It doesn't make sense."
for her to be like the snake that she is, like that was sloppy. Because like yeah, like you said, just call him and be like, hey, if my brother calls, like sorry to rope you into this, but if my brother calls, say this.
Or actually call him and say, "Hey, I was just calling to get the temperature, something,
Yeah.
something." And then once Ken calls, because at this point he called and probably said something, and Nate's probably like, "I haven't talked to.
What are you talking about?
What are you
Yeah.
talking about? I haven't talked to shit." Has she talked to him at all that day? Because I know he talked to somebody earlier. Rome,
I
maybe?
know
I
he
don't know.
talked.
Tom.
I know he talked to Kendall earlier, but I don't know. I can't recall if I feel like she'll. I don't know. I don't know. I can't recall if she'll have called. I don't know.
I don't think she talked to him at all. And it would be different if I talked to you earlier today, Ronnie, about something totally different, and then don't talk to you later. But if Jonathan calls you and says, "Hey, have you talked to Dee?" You can say, "Well, yeah, I talked to her earlier." And then if he pushes, he'll see that you didn't talk. But Nate was probably like, "I didn't talk to
Mm.
Shib today. Like, I
I
don't know what you're
haven't
talking
talked to her.
about. I haven't spoken to her today." So I I just thought that was very, very sloppy because it just didn't make sense. It
but
didn't at all.
can I point out something
Of
that
course.
they so based on like their little coded language that they have with each other, getting upset about a lie is hilarious to me.
He couldn't even get it out though. I think that's what threw me off too, because they lie to each other all the time, right? They lie to each other, they
Yes.
lie to everybody else. But her, like that stuttering part, I was like, Shiv, get it together. Why are you so
Yeah.
lost? Like, just lie to him like you always do. I don't know why you're having such a hard time right now. You lie all the time.
And I think it's because like lies are their default and it's like white lies, but
Mm,
this is like the big
a
lie.
real one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. As
Yeah.
weird as that is, considering that they lie to each other like 99% of the time, but this is like the big lie.
Every day, B. They literally lie to each other like every day.
Yeah.
I don't get it. And she couldn't like, I don't know. Maybe I just feel like even if she didn't lie, I think that's the problem. She didn't lie. She didn't want to lie. If she was okay with lying to him, she could have just lied. She just been like, "Well, I don't need. I know what I said. I know that I just talked to him. It was fine, but it was well, he said I think the thought was there. I'm like, what are you doing? What is
Yeah. Yeah.
happening? She's
Yeah.
way, 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 way off. And do you? What is her plan with Lucas now? Because she says she's gonna screw him. Like they're gonna screw him. They're gonna put his funky numbers out, and they're gonna screw him. How?
So yeah, because in my opinion, like how does like in what way does she win now? Because the putting the funky numbers out would kill the deal anyway. So like how do you win? Like you latched you latched yourself to this wagon and now you're stuck with it.
Well, maybe she is gonna go with them though. Like maybe she'll kill the deal.
No, 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 no.
I
She can't
won't
go with
say.
them now.
Well, okay.
They
Why not?
I am convinced they are done with her now.
No, 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 not the boys. I'm talking about Lucas.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
What if she kills the deal, puts the numbers out so it looks like, hey, this is we're being transparent, we're being open, this is what we're doing, kills the deal with them, and then once everything goes south with ATN, she makes a move towards Pierce.
I don't even think that's an option for her now.
A lot of
Like
money. I
I
mean,
feel like
can
she's out of options because even when I mean I don't even think there's a place with her with Lucas because even when she was like, let me run the shop and he was like, I'll think about it. I'll get back to you.
but
So
what's
even
he
he
gonna
wasn't
do
like in
now?
just
What's the
just
future for
go
his company though? Because he's in trouble,
just
right? Well, not trouble, but you know what I mean. His numbers are weird, and he can't acquire ATN. What does he have
I mean he still has a multi-billion-dollar company.
that does what though? What is it? It's just tech.
Yeah,
Okay, so he just wanted to get into news because he's bored.
essentially, yeah. Like I think like I think a lot of people are forgetting like that this deal is like really of no consequence to him. Like it's just because he got bored. So yeah, he'll just go back and just make blood bricks or whatever.
But is that true? Is does those do the numbers prove that maybe he's not what he said he is?
I mean, of course he isn't, but
But I'm saying like because the numbers mean something. That because your whole
no, the
thing is that
numbers.
you have all this money and you got these subscribers
Yeah.
and all of this stuff, but that's not true. So that shrinks you from here to here. But you're saying the money is real though. He's really worth that much, or is that a lie too? That's what I'm saying.
So I mean, he himself is rich, but I think in terms of like, all right, so in terms of like future growth, I think those numbers are inflated because a lot of like his, I guess, liquid assets were based on this the deals in India and the subscriber numbers in India because like X number of subscribers, X amount of money, but they said it's almost like those numbers would be real if there were two Indias. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously the numbers are funky, but I mean like people like that always will be okay because also like yeah he'll be fine. Yeah, he'll be fine.
He'll be fine. Okay. I can't figure out what she's going to do. Shiv, because she seemed she's very angry, of course, and she was telling Rome things have consequences. But I guess my biggest question is what's gonna happen with ATN once that is not true. I know this is a much smaller scale, and I know TMZ is still very, very popular or whatever else. But they used to be like my source. Back in the day, I was like, if TMZ hasn't said it, I don't believe it. Until this sort of thing happens. Like they killed off Lil Wayne. They were like, he's getting his last rites. He's gonna die and it's over. And say they're planning a funeral arrangement and he's fine. Thank goodness. That's what this feels like on of course much smaller scale. So I'm saying their reputation took a hit because of that. Does ATN not have a problem now because you have made this big lie? Like you told a lie.
But did it take a hit? I mean, it took a hit. All right. So I mean, we haven't said it outright, but this is very clearly like an analogy to Fox's recent settlement with the Dominion, the voting machines. So their base still believes that stuff. Like they still believe it. So and I mean, you and I aren't watching Fox. So did their reputation take a hit, or did they just, further embolden their base to like do unspeakable things? So I think that's what Shiv saw, and that's what she was afraid of. And my thing is like, my thing with any of them, like when they get so the so-called good ones when they get pulled into this, I'm like, you didn't see this coming? Like how far, like when did you think they would stop?
They weren't they never stop. Like that's the thing. It just keeps building and building and building until it crashes. That's the only way it's gonna fail is if something like it has to be a monumental failure. And I'm assuming from the inside. Like somebody has to like blow it up in some kind of very, very huge proportion. And the fact that she is I guess the word is surprised because she seemed really shocked, hurt, surprised, all of that good stuff. Um, but I'm not because these are your brothers. They're who they've always been. Ken is very weak. Rome has well, see, Rome was weak, but like you said, once his dad died, he kind of stood tall. Ken is just a slithering,
Yeah,
sad snail, and I don't
I
know.
was gonna say, you know who the weak one is? It's like Kendall went outside this episode. Like you saw Roman. All right, because I think this episode is like this episode and the last one is like the perfect illustration of Kendall because behind the doors, like he'll try to gather people and say like I'm the one, but when it's time to be the one, he can't be the one, and he couldn't shut down Roman. Like he couldn't shut down Roman. Like Roman was calling the shots. Like and he could not shut him down.
And that was evident before because Roman just went off firing people, and Ken was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Yeah, yeah, okay." When Ken was like, "Well, what do y'all think about who runs the company?" Roman was like, "Yeah, me too." Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. I think that's fine. I mean, they are harassing your child because she is. I'm assuming she's adopted. Is she not his daughter? Ken's daughter.
All right. So let's talk about that for
I
a
can't
second
figure out if she's.
because all right, because the daughter is adopted, but Kendall really did have a son with Rava. And where the hell
He
is the
has.
son? The son that got
Where's the
hit with the
son?
can. The son that
I
got hit with
never.
the can.
He might be off in boarding school or something. I don't know. But
Yeah.
her daughter looks. His daughter is adopted, and I'm assuming that she is of another ethnic background, right? Which
Hmm.
means that she was being harassed because that's what I got from it. She was harassed in the streets because of that, and Ken was just
Hmm.
like, "Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Yeah. So just when it's like you can do all of the stuff on stage and all of the bravado and stuff, but when it's time to show, you're the one you don't got it. He ain't got it. He ain't got it because all right, so because of life circumstances, I had to watch these episodes back to back. So Connor talked to them about the funeral. He was like, "Who wants to have the big speech at the funeral?" Because Kendall probably doesn't value that type of environment. It's enclosed. It's not to the public. It's not like a big whatever. Like he was like, "Oh, you know," and then Roman was like, "I'll do it." Now based on the events of this going into that funeral, if he's the one who has like basically the keynote eulogy, like so add the events of him firing everybody, add in the events of election night, and now this to the public, what is that going to look like? Who's running the company?
the littlest seed, bro." To
Exactly.
me, that's what it looks like. The littlest one,
Exactly.
and for him to be so adamant about it's me, dad wrote it down for me, it was supposed to be me. It doesn't seem like he believes it at all. Like he doesn't even believe it himself. And it's like you said before, it's obvious this crossed out at this point because I would have crossed it out. Like you can't, you're not him at all. You can't even stand up to your brother. Well, he does a little bit more to Shiv, I guess, stands up more for her, but that's because he has Roman backing him up. One
Mhm.
on one, he doesn't stand up to anybody. Nobody.
No, no. Yeah, and I think there's a reason why he can easily stand up to Shield instead of Roman. Because yeah, Roman was really calling the shots. He was like, yeah, this is what we're doing. I don't care.
And not only this is what we're doing, I don't care. There was no compromise, no nothing. Roman said, "This is it." Period. That was in it. It was admirable if he weren't doing it for such terrible reasons because he made a stand. He took a stand, and that was it. This is what I believe in. This is what I'm going to do. That would be fine if it wasn't, I believe in following Lucifer to the gates of
Yeah,
hell and bringing America with me. But as far as a CEO, that's what you want. You want somebody that's going to make a decision. The thing that I cannot stand among a lot of things are people who cannot make a decision because they're afraid that it's the wrong one or it's not the best one, or I just want to make sure
mhm,
that even if I do make the decision, I can say that I made it because of this reason. Whatever the fallout, it won't be on me. That's annoying to me. Like you still got to make a decision. You're a human being. If you mess up, that's fine, but like make the decision. And Kendall never ever makes a decision.
yeah. And so I want to close with one thing. Well, I think one thing. So no, two things. So first thing, the show does a good job of when you think someone is up, um, they have that Cinderella loss the next week, and their stock drops immediately. So with two episodes left, and I say this in a good way, I do not know who will end up on top because I think their relationship is so fractured now. that they are like no longer like family. Kendall more so doesn't realize that between he and Roman, but no, like Roman is like fuck everybody. Shiv is out of the circle, and Kendall is just like just floating in the ocean. So I say that to say when this show ends, I don't know the fate of anyone. I can't even begin to guess. But what I can say is it's significant in the overall arc of the episode, but don't forget that Jerry is coming. And I still, if there's one thing I know for sure, is Jerry Kellerman is the most dangerous person on this show. So that's all I got to say.
And I think it's gonna be that's gonna be the hammer. Because if anybody can wrangle him in, it'll be her. For sure.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, she was like, I could have made you the one.
He was mad about it too. Because I think she really
Uh,
could have. He could have been the man with her
yeah,
tutelage. But no, he couldn't listen. He couldn't accept that she knows more because she does. He wanted to do it his way, and we're gonna see how that goes.
yeah. So two episodes left. We get the funeral next, and then after that, we get. I don't know if you knew this, D, but we get a feature film length finale.
I ask you, was it 2 hours? It's 2 hours?
I don't know if it's 2 hours. It's definitely like an hour and a half, but we get a feature
Okay.
length film finale. So very excited to see where this goes. We still have two episodes left. But I can undoubtedly say, and by the way, this is what you want from your show, but I can undoubtedly say this is probably the best season of Succession, like hands down. Amazing writing, amazing acting. They really put everything into this last season, which is what all that you can want from a show. But yeah, two episodes left. Can't wait to see how it ends. But yeah, that's all we have for this recap. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. But yeah, until next time.